Okay, the Shrub-Steppe of Okanagan, based on a 20% analysis, that's what was in the report. I don't know why it was just 20%. In 1997, historically, 433,000 acres of Shrub-Steppe in Okanagan County, with about 266,000 remaining, a 38% reduction. So there's multiple factors that contribute to the reduction in Shrub-Steppe. There's, of course, agricultural conversion, fire exclusion, which results in increased invasion by conifers, particularly ponderosa pine, and also poor grazing management, which gives a lot of the shrubs historically an edge on the grasses. So the grasses are being eaten down and the shrubs are taking over. So it turns it into shrub. And approximately 24,000 acres of fish and wildlife land were burned in this. Also of note is that Shrub-Steppe and grasslands across the border in Canada are they're an endangered ecosystem in Canada. So we're right on the northern edge of an ecosystem that is disappearing the further north you go. This is an example of poor grazing practices. The bitterbrush is just really hedged back, but bitterbrush has adapted to that. I've seen bitterbrush continually survive this heavy browsing by livestock. And this is an area here where you can see the bunch grasses and bitterbrush. I'd give somebody $10 if they could find a bunch grass in that right there. It's just really grubbed down to the soil. Pine encroachment into Shrub-Steppe. You get a pretty good idea of what was historically more Shrub-Steppe out here. And without the frequent fires, and frequent fires normally being 1 to 30 years, you get this encroachment. Ecotypes within the crop complex were bitterbrush, blue bunch wheatgrass, sagebrush, blue bunch wheatgrass, ponderosa pine, pine grass, ponderosa pine, bitterbrush, and mixed conifer, pine grass. There are 93 ecological systems in Washington, and I believe about 70 of those have some part of them that is maintained or influenced by fire. So these are some shrubs, grasses, forbs of Shrub-Steppe. And then there are the trees that occur in the riparian areas, in Shrub-Steppe riparian areas. Now, probably the highest priority that I would say in Shrub-Steppe recovery is weed control. Now is an opportunity that these weeds are very visible. There's nothing basically blocking your observations. And to take this opportunity now to grid areas and look for the weeds, GPS the weed locations, map them, and treat the weeds. There will be no other opportunity like there is now to get these weeds early. This is just a pretty yellow snapdragon, right? It's a Dalmatian toadflax. I know there's a lot of it around here. There is a bioagent, and when people are out gridding looking for weeds, it would be a good idea to see if there's any bioagents hanging out on them, so you know if their bioagents are present or not. If they're not present, there's a good supply of them that can be obtained. And I would imagine, I know when we did the first prescribed burn on the Sinlahican in 2005, I collected a diffuse knapweed plant that had some emergent holes in the seed heads from Labrinus minutus bioagents that are very, very effective on diffuse knapweed. I picked all the seed heads off with the idea that I was going to count how many had emerged insects and how many didn't. And I think it was about a week later, I went back there and there was 27 Labrinus beetles that had emerged after I had picked it. So what that told me is when we burned that area, that killed any of those insects that were still in the plant. So that was not necessarily a good thing. But obviously there were other insects that were on the ground. If they're on the ground or close to the ground, they would survive the fire, at least in a grass fire. But if you've got any shrubs or trees or heavy fuels there, it won't survive because it's going to cook where they're at. You're going to have that long heat residency. And Scotch thistle. I do know of one patch in the Methow, but believe me, this is not something you want to see get started. It's the seeds, their strategy is to sprout anytime, germinate anytime, and they will come up. And this is fortunate here because a lot of them all came up and bolted at the same time. Others will, you go through an area and you won't see them, and then you come back a month later and here they are bolted and gone to seed. So you definitely want to watch them. This is a single Scotch thistle plant that we found on the Sinlahican, along the Sinlahican County Road, and that's the only one that I know that we ever had on the Sinlahican. So it was just, it had not gone to seed, and that was a fortunate find. Another reason to know your plants when you're out looking for weeds is this is not a weed. This is a wavy leaf thistle. This is a native thistle. And fritillary butterflies use this, not for fritillary, but checker spot butterflies use this. Checker spot and painted lady butterflies use this for egg laying and the larval food. So you want to get the Scotch thistle and the musk thistle, but not the wavy leaf thistle. So you need to be able to identify. We've got also being able to identify the rosette stage of plants too is important. This is a Scotch thistle, diffuse knapweed. This is an amazing patch of small Scotch thistle. It's just, if that came up, that would dump a lot of seeds. So hopefully it's going to get treated. Another weed species that I know occurs in the Methow is white top or hoary cress. And it's very prolific. One thing about this plant, another reason to learn the life history of these weeds, is you can develop a strategy on how best to control them and the best approach. With hoary cress, the seed longevity is about 3 years. So if you can keep this from producing seed for 3 years or 4 years, you're home free. Scotch thistle, maybe 40 years. 40. And again, being able to identify the plants that you want to control is important. This is Eriogonum heracleoides, and I had an employee report to me that he found lots and lots of white top. And I looked, and it was Eriogonum heracleoides, which is another butterfly nectaring plant, as well as a larval plant host. Now, does that look like hoary crests? Those of you who are familiar?
Sort of.
Well, that's Eriogonum heracleoides. This is hoary crest.
Question, what do you use? What herbicide, do you use a herbicide?
Yes.
And what would you
Yeah.
use? What do you recommend?
Well, I don't have a dealer's license that allows me to give recommendations.
I mean, 2,4-D or
Milestone would be a good start. So,
But Dale, you were mentioning like if you can, say a non-herbicidal method.
mhm.
So if you could mow it, and mow it, and mow it, you keep it from going to seed, is that even gonna
Yeah, a lot of these plants have, they'll go to seed,
this tall?
yeah, that
Yeah,
tall.
yeah.
So it's
Okay.
it would be nice, hand pulling it, you definitely get it that way.
Yeah.
And I've tried to convince employees about going out with a shovel and, sure, you've got a huge patch of weeds, but you've got something like this.
Right.
The seed longevity is 3 years.
Right.
And if you get it before it goes to seed, you're done.
Yeah.
You come back and check it, just repeatedly check it, and you're done.
Yeah.
But if you go out and spray it, a lot of people have the attitude if they go out and spray it, then they're done.
Right.
No, you have to keep going back and checking, and yes.
Our issue with the white pop is that it's invaded into Oregon grape, and we've had a heck of a time trying to keep it out.
Yeah, where it is mixed in with other plants, that makes it more difficult, definitely.
Any
So,
suggestions?
if you don't want to take out the Oregon grape, you're gonna probably have to hand pull it, each plant and get it before it goes to seed. So. Okay, cheatgrass. This has been raised as an issue in Shrub-Steppe, increasing the fire return interval in Shrub-Steppe because it's such a flashy fuel, and it grows with a lot of continuity, unlike bunch grasses where you have space between the grass. But I don't see it that much of an issue here in the Okanagan. Actually, took this photo down in Kittitas County where there was a fire, I believe in 2012, and the cheatgrass has really taken hold there. So if that burns again, these shrubs will resprout, and shrubs that are top killed and resprout as a result of being top killed cannot take a really frequent fire, more than five years in intervals or less, 5 years or less. It's pretty hard on them. So, with the establishment of cheatgrass potentially, and this has been a huge problem down in southern Idaho and Utah and in that country where cheatgrass has basically converted thousands of acres of Shrub-Steppe to cheatgrass country, and it's interfering with the recovery of sage grouse.
So what, Dale? So
Yes.
is cheatgrass even worth trying to control, or is it a
Well, actually,
neo-native to where it's just, you can't beat it?
yeah, I've noticed areas where it's real patchy. You'll have patches of cheatgrass and then bunch grass all around it. I don't know if it's a soil thing. They're also working with a bacteria at Washington State University that they're trying to introduce this bacteria into the soil with the cheatgrass. Apparently it hinders the cheatgrass's ability to grow or something. So that is an option, and they're still experimenting with that, apparently having some success.
Yeah, you had mullen on the slide.
Yes.
I thought that was a native species.
No.
No.
No. If you want it to be native, you can. It's going to be native.
No.
I've seen it in Frank Metzger photographs back to 1910. So I think it's here to stay, and, along with the bull thistle. I've seen that in old photographs.
So one more cheatgrass question. So you said you don't really see it as like a big issue here because even though we have it, you just don't think that it's gonna get that dense here, or why are you not?
I'm not seeing the density of cheatgrass around here in any place that I've worked in Okanagan County.
Okay.
I do know it's an issue in other areas.
There's
No question about that. Okay, in weed control, the weed sources, were they present before the fire? Were they imported or spread by firefighting vehicles or equipment or personnel? And that was one of the requirements that I talked with the incident management team is I wanted a vehicle wash station set up before they went out on the land. If somebody came in and they had any plant material, seeds, or anything that could spread weeds. There was a fire over near Tenasket 2 years ago, and there was it's not spurge flax, it's, I don't remember the name of it, but apparently the firefighters were driving back and forth through this stuff. And then they dispersed away and they went to Stevens County and Klickitat County and over on the coast. So this was an isolated weed in that area, and there was no precautions taken. So I can understand, getting out there and getting on fire, but at least before they leave, they could at least wash the vehicles and make sure they're clean. As I mentioned previously, gritting for weeds. Right now, they're highly visible. And note the species, the extent, and the presence of bioagents. GPS or map the sites, the locations. Revisiting and treating the sites. Keep going back. I've found, in the case of puncture vine and wild 4 o'clock, that those seeds will germinate 10 days after I visited the site. And within 7 days after that, I know that puncture vine has started a new seed. So it's important to keep checking back. Treat the weeds, hand dig, pull, spray, release bioagents. Bioagents are viable if you've got a huge population of weeds in an area that's pretty inaccessible or difficult to get to and dealing with. They work pretty good in those cases. And then using native seed, and preferably local source, because if it's local source, it's going to have the genetic material and the genetic history, the genetic memory, and it's best adapted for that area and the conditions. The genetics of the native species here have gone through all of the disturbances that nature can throw at it and survive. So it's got whatever it takes to survive in this area. When we start bringing non-native seeds in from out of the area, then we're not really going to maintain that genetic diversity. This is an example of mapping weeds. And it's pretty easy for somebody to just hand them a map and they can go out and check areas. This is on the Chillis wildlife area. So this is creating weed habitat. And you just have to wonder sometimes, is this somebody out there just having fun, or are they creating fire life? And it creates a real mess for the landowner that has to come back and deal with this. This is what I found in the Chilliwack Wildlife Area after fire suppression activities. And I informed the people that were responsible for this that if I ever saw anything like this again, it better be black on one side of the line. Because if it's otherwise, I mean, what's the point? Just open it up for a lot of weeds to become established. Now, to me, it's really important to go out and observe and evaluate what's going on. It's back to that: do we really want to do recovery, or just we want to do some knee-jerk thing and get out there and spread seed and be done with it and feel good? We need to get out and see what there is on the ground and what happened. Now this was up off of Bulky, or not Bulky, but what's the road north?
Bear Creek.
No, off of Bear Creek.
Beaver Creek.
Lester.
Lester Road. This is off Lester Road on the afternoon of July 17th. This is before when the fire was really starting to ramp up down south. And we can see it. This is balsam root, and this is sagebrush. Sagebrush, the leaves were burned off. This is a lupin. And why they didn't burn, there's diffuse snapweed. Why they didn't burn completely, yet there's other stands of bitterbrush that are just completely consumed down to the roots, or right down to the stubs. And my theory is that what came through here was burning all the fine fuels, and it didn't generate enough heat to drive off the moisture in these plants right here, to drive off the moisture to the point of combustion. So they made it through the fire without being consumed. I don't think they're still alive. Any plants with the root crown and the root beneath the soil surface survived in this situation. If you want information about fire effects on either plants or animals, you can go to this website, and it's basically www.fs.fed.us, FEIS, I believe. I've got it later on in the program. And for a lot of different plant species, they list the fire effects with references and a tremendous amount of information if you want to use that site. And have any of you ever seen this Monroe's Goat Mallow in the Methow? Have any of you ever seen the Monroe's Goat Mallow? Well, it's native. It's a very striking plant in the Shrub-Steppe. Again, this is sagebrush that survived the fire that came through. I would prophesize that all of these grasses in here are resprouting, as well as this appears to be balsam root. However, the sagebrush is toast.
Will it resprout?
No, chances are it won't. They have almost a zero root sprouting. And again, this, seemingly barren wasteland, and a lot of these skeletons you can see out here are bitterbrush. A percentage of them will sprout from the root. So, and then the bunch grasses are going to sprout. So, all is not lost. This area right here, I would say that there was a pretty heavy shrub there was a lot of fuels, so it cooked it. But that's just one spot. And then I stole this from another PowerPoint, the USGS, and there's been a lot of discussion about going out and reseeding or seeding. And according to what they found is short term for effectiveness of erosion, seeded plants can't establish it fast enough. I know that there's been a number of people that have spent a lot of money putting seed on, and I just really wonder if that's the best use of our resources. One thing that I if people do feel the urge to get seed out, I would suggest going with these plants they seem to like disturbed sites. Gray rabbit brush and Eriogonum niveum. They do very well in disturbed sites. So the thing to do if you're going to reseed is go out and start collecting seed from the areas that need to be reseeded. It's kind of a little late in the game right now, but that was part of what I did on the Sinmahican, is going out and collecting seed, getting it grown out at a nursery down in the Columbia Basin. So there are Methow native grass seed, blue bunch wheatgrass, and Sinmahican blue bunch wheatgrass, and some other seeds available through that nursery.
But if the grasses sprout back, then you don't need to grass seed, you need to seed with the shrubs, correct? But I mean, why?
Maybe not. We collected shrub seed too, yes.
Okay.
But yeah, this is a learning process. So what survived. So if you have a shrub and it burns under the conditions that we found in the Carlton complex, it's going to tend to cook the soil, consistently, uniformly. Whereas if you've got patches of shrubs or individual shrubs scattered around the landscape, it's not going to, it's going to cook it in a patchiness and a mosaic condition. So, just food for thought.